So what is an interest lock versus floating the interest rate? So interest lock is basically when you lock in your interest rate. Let's say you find a home, you go under contract, and you want to lock in that interest rate as soon as possible. Okay, that's going to give you no leeway there. That rate is locked. Okay, so if you want to float the interest rate, and maybe you're a gambling person, right? You go to Vegas, throw some craps down, all right, roll the dice a little bit, and maybe that interest rate will go down. So that's why you want to float the interest rate. That's why you would float the interest rate. And everybody says, oh, these interest rates may go down. Wait till the 18th of the month when the Fed meets and the rate will go down. Whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, if an interest rate is really good, 6, 7, 6, 5, 6%, whatever it is, and you want to lock it in right there. Now, if your lender says, let's float the rate, nobody has a crystal ball. Okay, nobody can tell you the interest rates are going to go down. No one can do that. Okay, so if you have a good interest rate, if the lender says, you know what, here's your interest rate, and it looks good, and you're looking around, that's why it's important you go with a local lender that knows the market, that knows what your interest rates are looking like, okay, and has their pulse on what's going on with the economy, because there's a lot of factors that go into that interest rate. So again, if you want to roll the dice and you want to float that rate out as long as possible because you think the interest rate will go down, and sometimes it does, sometimes it will go down. But I've had clients float that rate, get to the closing table, and they see their rate and they're like, oh man, this is up 0.1% from last week. Okay, so if you can lock in your rate, I always suggest if it looks good on paper and you're comfortable with that interest rate, lock it in as soon as possible. But if you want to roll the dice and you want to float it, all right, as long as possible, because you think the interest rate will drop, and if you're a gambling person, like I said, you always got that chance, that roll the dice chance that it could drop. But if it's a good rate and you're comfortable with it, I would say lock it in as soon as possible. So that's what locking in the interest rate means versus floating the interest rate.